I'm really enjoying the midsole ride of these. Super soft. Oh my gosh.
Today, we're going to take a look at the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. It features a lightweight, highly breathable upper, a full-length carbon fiber plate, and a brand new midsole to run in. But how do they fit? How do they perform? And most importantly, are they worth the money that they're asking for? All that's coming up, so be sure to stick around. Hey everybody, I'm Tim and this is Run Tall. If you're new here, welcome to the Run Tall family. I'm really glad you are here and you found us on YouTube. Now I post running videos all the time about training, recovery, and gear reviews. So if you're into that kind of thing, I want to personally invite you to subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free to do and it really does help out. Now before I get into it too far, I do want to get a disclosure out of the way. I did buy the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 with my own money. So no one is paying me to make this video. No one's telling me what to say, and no one from Saucony or any place else has an opportunity to preview my thoughts before I share them with you first here on YouTube. That out of the way, let's take a real close look at the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. Now this is a neutral road racing shoe. It retails for $275 so it is a little on the high side even for super shoes, but it is in line with another favorite of mine, which is the Nike Alpha Fly. I ordered mine true to size, and for me, that's a US men's size 9 or a women's 10.5, and they are really lightweight. On my scales, they came in at just 199 grams, or about 7 ounces. So let's start, we'll take a look at the upper first. Here they're using two different kinds of material, an engineered mesh along with a knit material. Now that engineered mesh has some really wide perforations, which creates a nice airflow to keep your feet nice and cool and comfortable, even going those marathon distances. And you can see those perforations go all the way back to the heel counter and across the toe box. They do have some small plastic overlays here, basically just their Saucony logo. I had plenty of room up here for me to be able to splay my toes. I never felt like they were crowded. I didn't have any hot spots or any kind of rubbing at all with that upper. Now, let's take a look at where that knit material is. You're going to find that in the eyelet chain. So let me grab this shoe back here, the mate to this shoe. And I've already removed the laces so we can take a closer look at it. Now, on the eyelet chain, they did something a little bit different here. They have some material that's sewed in that creates some loops. Now, you're going to be running your laces through those loops as opposed to a traditional eyelet. Now, traditional eyelets basically have usually a little bit of plastic overlay to give it some structure and some durability so your laces aren't pulling through. Now here they've got this sewed in here. Now the reason they did that is you might have noticed already that they have a bootie style construction. So it's all one piece, it's all integrated in there. So they had to go with this style of a lace enclosure system, and I didn't have any issues with it. I was able to get locked in and secure across my midfoot all the way back to my heel cup. So I'm okay with that. The one thing I will note that, well, a couple things. Number one is this knit material does have a little stretch to it, and that's a good thing. If you're out running a marathon, you get into those ladder distances and your feet can swell. And so this is going to be a bit accommodating. The other thing that I would note, however, is that for someone like myself, my feet don't take up a lot of volume in shoes. So on a traditional lace enclosure system, I oftentimes will get a little bit of bunching up here at the start. But with a Bootie Construction, I get the bunching right across that mid panel. And so that was a bit of a concern of mine when I first laced these up, because I was worried that that material buckled under and bunched up along that entire panel, and I was afraid that might cause me some pain points across the top of my midfoot. Now, all it really did was create kind of this poor aesthetic look, but I've never been too worried about how my shoes look. I'm always more concerned about how they fit and how they perform. I didn't have any kind of issue with that at all, but it did get some bunching there. So I thought that was definitely worth noting to you, because if you're like me and your feet don't take up a lot of volume in the shoes, you might get that same type of an effect. Now, if you have wider feet and you typically do take up that space, I think that Bootie Construction is going to feel really good for you because it is a bit more accommodating with that stretch material. But for me, I wish that they had gone with just a traditional style there and not necessarily a Bootie style tongue it is what it is. And the tongue itself does not have any kind of additional padding along that panel, but I didn't need it. And for me, that really kind of worked in my favor, because if they would have had extra padding there, or even zonal padding, I'm afraid that as that material bunched up like that and folded under, that extra padding would have made that worse and may have even caused me some hot spots there. But they didn't have it, and it didn't. So I'm okay with it. I just kind of wish that they would have gone with a more traditional tongue system there. All right, let's take a look at the other areas where you're going to find padding or not. And in this case, we're going to take a look around the collar of the shoe. There's no padding at all around the collar, but they do have some back in the heel. It was fine. I didn't have any issues. Like I said, I didn't have any rubbing on my heel collar, and I didn't have any issues with back here in my Achilles. So I think they got it right. You know, you want to keep it down to a minimum. That's the way that they're able to get this to 199 grams, is to reduce weight wherever they can. And in this case, they didn't put any padding around the heel collar, and that was okay. I didn't have any issues with that at all. So let's take a look at the heel counter for a second. And I often like to take a look at this to see how much structure is back here. And as you would expect with a racing shoe, there really isn't any. It's not going to add any kind of stability to the fit of your shoe, but it's exactly what you would expect for a racing shoe, for sure. All right, so let's take a look at the midsole foam, because this is really where the excitement is in this shoe. At least it is for me. It's their Incredi-Run foam. And embedded within that Incredi-Run foam is a full-length carbon fiber plate. Now, they have a ton of it here. They've got 39.5 millimeters in the heel and 31.5 up in the forefoot, so they've got an 8 millimeter offset. The full-length carbon fiber plate is a slotted plate. So it reminds me a little bit of what Adios has done with their Adios Pro shoes, where they have the energy rods that kind of run up through to the forefoot. That's kind of the same here, only they have a slotted plate, and it gives you the same type of an effect where you have a little bit more nimble up in the forefoot of the shoe. And it is a shoe, or it is a ride that I do like. I enjoy the Adios Pro, and I found that same type of flexibility in my run with these. So I enjoy that. I enjoy the carbon fiber plate with the slots. Let's talk about the midsole foam though, because that's the biggest difference here. This foam is unlike any other foam that I've ever run in. It is bouncy. That's the best way I can describe it, with a little bit of wobble. So when I first put these on, I was concerned that I might not be able to run in these, because I stood up and I just kind of felt like I was a bit on a trampoline, because it was that kind of bouncy and, like I said, a little bit of wobble to it. But my fears were unfounded, because the minute that I started to run and took that first stride, the carbon fiber plate really smooths out that wobble and provides some stability to your run. And what you end up with is a highly propulsive shoe with that bounce and that carbon fiber plate working together to drive your feet forward. So I just had a ton of fun running these shoes. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. If you don't like bounce and you don't like that little bit of instability when you're walking around prior to your run, that kind of thing, you can find these to be a bit unsettling, I think. But if you take off and you start running these, especially I think if you're a mid to forefoot foot striker like I am, what a treat for my feet. These are really, really fun shoes to run in. Now, to give you an idea of what I mean, when I first got these and I unboxed them, I was just excited and I wanted to take them out for a run, but it was at the end of the week. I'd already run the miles I had intended to run that week. So I thought, well, I'll go out and I'll run 5K and just get a sense of what these shoes are like. So I was really, really anxious to put them on my feet. But instead of going 5K, I ended up running a little over 10 miles in these shoes, because I was just having so much fun. I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to keep going. And these shoes helped me do that. And I felt like I was getting just so much back out of that midsole ride that I can't wait to put these back on my feet again. They're just that much fun to run in. But I think it could be a bit polarizing, because I don't know that everybody's going to enjoy that bounce and wobble type feeling, but give it a chance. Give it a chance, because I think once you start running in these, now I don't know what it would be like for somebody who's heel striking, But if you mid to forefoot foot strike, I think you're going to find these to be a lot of fun to run. And at least I know that I did. All right, so let's flip these over. We'll take a look at the final piece of the shoe, and that's the outsole. And they're using their Power Track outsole rubber material here. And it's a really thin coat, typical of race day shoes like this. But I think they did a good job. You know, they got it in the areas where you're going to need it, back here in the heel and from the midfoot all the way to where you toe off. And when I ran in these, it was wet weather conditions out, so the pavement was wet, the sidewalks were wet, and I never felt unstable at all. It's not super tacky or grippy, but I didn't feel like my feet were going to slide out from underneath me either, so I felt pretty safe running in these shoes with this little bit of outsole rubber that they have here. So I think that they got it just about right for a super shoe. They do have some cutouts back here as well. You know, they got one back here in the heel, and I think that adds to that wobble feeling that you get when you're walking in these, and as well as a cutout up here in the midfoot of the shoe where you can actually see the carbon fiber plate a little bit right there. All right, so in terms of the fit, I think they fit great in spite of the fact that I'm not a huge fan really of the booty style construction, only because, at least not with these anyway, some other shoes that are a bit more narrow fit across the midfoot fit me okay, but I do get some bunching where the material is rolling over in on itself. But other than that, these fit really good. I enjoyed having them on my feet. They're really cool and comfortable to run in. And I think Saucony did a pretty good job here. I personally would like to see more of a traditional, just a tongue style, but that's because, like I said, my feet are a bit more narrow. They don't take up as much room, and I can get bunching there. But that's typical of all the shoes that I run in, not exclusive to this model. In terms of performance, I cannot fault the performance. I'm excited to put these back on my feet. They have a ton of energy return. It's still propulsive. It just wants to drive you forward and keep you running, and I just absolutely love that. And then the final question is, are they worth the money that they're asking for them? Well, I think another way to ask that question is, would I buy these shoes again? And I can say without a doubt, yes, I would buy these shoes again. I'm having a lot of fun in these shoes, and I'm looking forward to putting a lot more miles in them and taking them out for, a 5K up through to a half marathon. I think that these shoes could do well at all of those different distances. They have enough propulsion, and they're light enough that I think they're a good 5K choice. But there's so much cushioning there that it's going to keep you comfortable for that 26.2 miles, and you're going to continue to get that energy return even in the latter miles. And hopefully for someone like myself who tends to get into that marathon shuffle a little bit when I get up around mile 20, that will help me keep my legs turning over throughout that distance. All right, you guys. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here on Run Tall with Tim.